Alright, alright, alright. See if anybody's gonna call me on. Give it a moment. Pull up a chair. Get cozy. Hack on your projects as you follow along here, or join in the convo. We are live and ready to go. What are we going to work on today? Well, we're going to continue on with the project that I've been working on the side here. Largely for entertainment purposes and just for hacking around and, you know, experimenting with stuff. So, this is Adventure Engine. This is a, I don't know if we're going to stay a text adventure game, purely text, but we might have to switch the title over to, like, interactive fiction at some point. However, for now, that's what it is. It's written in Haskell. It's got a nice GUI based on a cool library called Monomer. And it looks like this. Actually, I'll run it in out this one here. And it looks like this. And it looks like this. That's what the magician said 3 times. And the trick worked. There we go. So we upgraded. Well, it looks like we still got a little bit of flicker, but that might be the VGL rendering context running over an X server. Anywho, here we are in our super duper system. There's our cool Discord declarative programming stream Discord. There's the link up here to get on this. We have a channel for this stream as well as many others. Very cool. But yeah, so we're gonna work on that tonight. And last week, if you were here, we were in the middle of implementing items that have verbs attached to them so that we could pick up the shovel and then be able to dig with it. And if you weren't here, that's okay. We're just at the point in the game where we can sort of like have door exit puzzles. We find that the door won't budge if we try to go through it until we pick up a particular item and have it in our inventory. Which I just hard-coded to be the shovel for now. And if you walk through the front door, you can go through, you smash your way in. Cool. So that's pretty much what we've got right now, which is interactive-wise and story-wise and puzzle-wise. Maybe we could write some neat stuff with that, maybe, but it's probably not quite enough. So we need to be able to dig with the shovel, of course. Like, why not? All right, that's what a shovel's for. But we don't know what it means by dig yet. So the game doesn't know about the dig verb, so we're gonna have to add that. And we gotta attach the verb to the shovel object so that when you pick it up, you can use the dig verb, but when you drop the shovel, you can't. So we got a bit of work ahead of us. How's the stream doing tonight? Hope you're doing well. Okay, let's go. Let's go to the to-do list. Yeah. Object interaction, item verbs, that's where we were. When you pick up the shovel, it should have a dig. When you drop it, you shouldn't. Okay. Let's go to the engine. So in our engine code, let's see. Actually, I don't... let's look at our recent commits. It's been a while. I've been tied up in other projects. I've bring myself up to speed. This is why we write good messages in our logs to remember what we did. Right, so add the verb alias list to items. Right, okay, so we added the list of verb aliases to the items so that they could be merged to the map, the verb alias map. And I believe we also moved the verb alias map into the world, I believe. Into the world record. And out of the game state. And that's mainly because of kind of a visibility issue with like the way these things are structured. And we have like the player inventory down here already. The current room the player is in. I think you could make a case that this probably should be like refactored up into the game state. And the world should just be considered with the data about the world itself, like the rooms and objects, exits, and items available in it, and things like that. Yeah, so it looks like this code's kind of mixing up concerns here a little bit. It's okay for now, but this becomes too much of a pain in the butt. We'll have to do a little bit more refactoring there, moving things around. But we're in the middle of a feature, so let's continue on with it. So I think that's where we are. We need to have a way that when the user handles the pickup, we also merge that into the thing. And I think this is why ultimately we have a bit of the game state down in the world, because the handlers only get the world here as a parameter. They don't get game state. We can probably refactor that later, but for now we're gonna just stick with where we are and make it work. Simplest, dumbest thing that can work. That's been the name of the game. So let's start up our compiler here. File watch mode. That should be good. Okay, so when we handle the pickup, the player inventory changes, the world rooms change, and we should also update the player verbs. So let's do that. A little hole there, holesy hole. Boom. So we need a verb alias map. We have a verb alias map. All right. We have one in the world. We just need to merge that with something. I think data.map has merge or adjust type function that takes that and the one from the item that we picked up as well. Or the object. And that was kind of, oh yeah, that was kind of the thing we were struggling with a little bit. We have to find a way to look into the object. The object's kind of a layered thing with a couple of layers of records wrapping around it. So we got to figure out a way to get into that field to merge the merge that in with this. It's not merge, it's something else, perhaps. Let's look that up quickly. Data.map. Right, we have combine, right, union, union with, and unions. Union should be good. All these have to be unique anyway, so union makes sense. I'm just kind of combining the two maps together. So that should be fine. Then we should be left with a hole. And we'll have to figure out how to put something in that hole, another map, which we're going to get from the object. So we get the object ID. Right, we get the, I think we might even toss aside the actual object. I think that's an object that gets pulled in, the game object itself. What type are you, friend? Okay, yep. Yes, it is a game object. This is what I really like about type tools too. Of course, you've seen me use these a lot on the stream, but again, if it's your first time joining me, that's cool. One of the cool things is like, yeah, it shows you like what's the scope, what the types are, and things like that, which you can get with good tooling inside, but when you don't have it, or you haven't configured it in a while, and things break and whatever, and you're too lazy to do it, you can also get it there. And usually like this would show like inside the editor anyway, when that stuff's working. I'm just super lazy when it comes to fixing this environment here, so bear with me. Hasn't been too much of an impediment, but it's kind of becoming a thing, I guess. I should probably spend some time fixing that. I don't know. Any hoozle. So we need to do something with that game object. Let's figure out what we need to do. We have some kind of function for looking up the object, right? We don't know much about the object, but we can do something with it, maybe, perhaps. Right, and then of course, what that hole is, we can figure out some functions that should go on there that can do stuff with object. Perhaps, but perhaps not. We can get object name, that's all bound locally. I should just go look it up, really. What I should go do. But I think there's another type error here with world, isn't there? Yeah, and this is just becoming a thing with grouping parameters. Okay. It's the game object. Voici le game object. There we go. So it's got a name, a description, and a game object. Super useful. That's a sum type for the different cut types of objects we can have. An item or a container. An item is something you can hold. Can't hold anything else, it's just the item itself. And then a container is an object that contains other objects. We are only concerned with the item case. Potentially. No, let's add verbs on containers too, why not? Otherwise, I think actually we only put them on items for now. Yeah, so we have a maybe case. Maybe it's a game item. Maybe it's not. And in the case where it is, we should pull it out. In the case where it's not, too bad. And it'll pick up. So, let's go get the game object, and I've got to do something with that. Of course, got to fix the presidents and stuff, and doohickeys and yada yada. Okay, we've got another function. We need to go from object to something else. I think we're probably going to need a helper function for that whole. Right. So we have the game object, we've got this case here, and we just want the item out of this case. So we need some kind of item object. Right, takes a container of object and returns maybe it's an item, maybe it's not. Well, that's the gist. So we have object item. The item, we just return equals just item or pure item if you prefer. Both are fine. Otherwise, we don't care. It's nothing. Nothing. Sorry, containers. You're not nothing. You're everything. It's just... Don't hate me. I'm just a programmer. I'm terrible at naming things. Or I'm okay at naming things. I think it's just a meme at this point. I don't know if programmers are that bad at naming things, because we care an awful lot. I think we care about what things are named more than... more than authors, sometimes. Okay. So we have that, which means that computation can technically fail. So we should probably put that up here using our handy dandy monad fail pattern here. Game item. And I'll move that up here. Yeah. Okay. Because now we're going to need maybe to write, probably. Something. Object does not exist. I don't know if that's the right error. Not really. And our function to item object. Get that out. Cool. What's our problem here? Oh, right. Oh, yeah, we're not quite done yet. We have to get the verb alias map off the item, which is the item verbs. That's the problem there. So this really should be a named item verb. See, I'm great at naming stuff. It's fine. How dare you suggest otherwise? This is my bread and butter. Okay, let's see. We've got another fun type problem here. Type mismatch. Probably not a huge one, just because that's item. We didn't update that name here. Let's try fixing that part at least. Yeah. Okay, let's get rid of it. We're gonna have to get rid of the fancy dancy $signs there, perhaps, just to make sure that's not part of the problem. Ah. Yes, this returns a maybe. That's right. So, item object, of course, returns a maybe, which means we're going to have to fmap item verbs over that, because there might be nothing there. And then we can do maybe to write to convert that into, yeah, there we go. So it wants, that's a list of verb, and we want a map of verb, so we have to convert that with map, but that's fine. Easy to fix. No problems. All right, we can do map.fromList. Okay, then we just have to insert our error that we're going to put there. The game error types is kind of like just a giant sum type I've been kind of stuffing everything in. Like room doesn't exist, and missing command, unrecognized verb, and space wizard, which is just my catch-all something, which I think we're going to use in this case, because it will make this a little bit easier and nicer if we allow containers to also have verbs. And in that case, if it does fail, it's not really an error. We just have a different case, or we can have a function that can handle both and get the appropriate list of verbs out. So I'm just going to put space wizard there for now. And a little to-do note. Right. Add support for container verbs. Or verbiage. I like it. Okay, that should compile now. We're back to green. That's good. I like it. Now, let me just take a quick peek at how we're doing, stream. Doing good. Okay, we're doing well. As well. Alright, so we got the space wizard, we got the maybe to write. So that means we can get the item verbs, they can be added to us. And merged into our player verbs. Now the shovel is what I was going to test with. It has the verb dig. Right? But I don't think we have a handler for that yet. So we'll do that in the next step. Let's just make sure that we can get an error that would say we got that code path. So we pick up the shovel. All right, we're holding the shovel, and now if I try dig, still says I don't know what you mean by dig. But I think you do. I think that's just a catch-all error string we return there. So that's good. I'm going to put this work, I'm going to mark this as a work in progress first. Just so we know to merge it up and clean it up at the end, but I just want to commit this here while we're at it. Add item verbs to player verbs. When when the player picks up an item, add the item's verbs to the available player verbs. Cool. All right, many tiny commits are good. I like it. Okay, good checkpoint. Next, we need to make sure that when we pick it up, we can actually handle that. So I just want to make sure that that's kind of working. The handle verb is where we kind of pattern match on things and match up to the appropriate handler for that verb. So we're going to pattern match on this verb. Dig. There's going to be something available. All right, now remember, as long as dig isn't in the current state of the player's thing, they won't be able to use it. All right, it's only when we add it to the verb map that it works. So we don't want handle take, we want handle dig. So of course we're going to get a type error that we haven't defined handle dig yet, so we're going to have to do that as well. Handle look, handle examine, blah, blah, blah. Handle take is our last one, so let's just add it onto the end. Handle dig. For glorious awesomeness of the command handler. Handle dig. Okay, so we get a world and we get some arguments that were given to the verb as well, which we can parse and continue using in various ways. Right now, we could just say, let's just add a log message to the world. And return a new world state where we have the world log messages updated with ours appended to the end. And and then we'll have to figure out and define what digging is and how it works and all that kind of stuff, and actually implement that. It would help if I knew how to write Haskell code. Of course, this needs to have a record in front of it, because we're using the record update syntax here. And here we go. That should be green as well. Yeah, and it is. Excellent. So let's pick up our little test shovel. Let's dig, baby. Yeah. I don't know how to do that yet. Well, we can walk through the front door with you, and we can drop you. That's great. Missing information about drop what? Drop the shovel. There you go. Cool. Savvy? Savvy. Okay. Another little mini commit. Okie dokie. Now we need to figure out what's digging supposed to do, right? Obviously, when you dig the ground, you're kind of using a shovel to dig. You're kind of expecting to dig the ground, and usually when we use a shovel on the ground, right? Well, it's your interactive fiction game, right? So you can make digging. Technically, you should be able to make digging work however you want, right? It depends on your story. However, we have our authoring tools here for the story are going to be fairly limited in this game, at least this engine, because I haven't figured that out how to do that. Really, I think we would just need like a more kind of Inform 7 style engine where we can do that kind of stuff. But for this one, a lot of the scope of authoring you can do when you're creating a story for this game engine is to create the room descriptions and the item descriptions and things like that. So, that being said, there is probably a way, I think, that I'm thinking of right now where we could at least give the ability to kind of allow the author of the game to figure out or to tell the user how digging works. And that would be by data, right? So if you look at the room description, the room data structure, it has a name, description, objects, exits. We could let dig operate on room objects, right? And what does it mean to dig? Well, show some text when you have dug. Is it diggable, right? And some rooms aren't going to be. And what happens? What do you get when you dig, right? That's going to be a little bit trickier because like maybe you want to be able to dig up an item, right? Or maybe the result of digging is just a message, some text to show. So we kind of have to predefine those things in order for that to work. And then basically all you can do is declare that, like, yes, when the user digs here, they're going to get a thing. I think item is good, and maybe that's all we need. A message. There could be an item, there could not be an item. So we could have like a maybe item, we could have a maybe message, and if this diggable thing is defined as well, that would be enough. Right, maybe text as the message, and then maybe some entity ID of a game object. All not required. All right, so what does it mean if we try the handle dig function on a room with no dig? Well, we could just say like nothing happens, or you can't do that here, or some kind of canned message. If it is defined, though, we have this tuple, elements of which may or may not be present. So what would it mean to dig a tuple with nothing, nothing? I think probably nothing as well. Or maybe like you dig, but nothing happens, or something like that. And the other thing is like maybe you just have the message, we just display the message, and then the other thing that can happen independently of it is we get an item. right? And the author can define those things independently of each other, and I think the story, like, interaction will still make sense to the player. I'm pretty sure that'll be fine. We could have, instead of maybe at the top level, we could have an either, like a failure message. In which case, you'll have to define a failure message for all your rooms, unless we provide, as an engine, some kind of default when we're constructing, like, the game engine data from the author's files. Alright, so we could go like either text here. Then we could probably provide some way to provide a default for that text when it's constructed. I think that looks pretty good. We're going to have to update our rooms, of course, now that we changed the type, so let's go do that. Right, so like we would have to go like left. Oh, you can't do that here, or... Right, which could get annoying. So providing some kind of default there for that case, where you don't want to define an error message, should be fine. Or maybe we could just make that a default, some kind of verb thing on the, attached to the verb, actually. I'm going to leave it there for now and maybe revisit that later. Okay, that's that one, and the front porch needs one. Okay, of course, if the player's at the front porch, let's add some diggage action there. Right, so we have our tuple, and that could be nothing, nothing, but we could just have just get a little hot digging. Find something. What do you find? Wow. I don't have a game object planned for that right now. We could have a new one. Coin. Not a bucket, sorry, a coin. And this is a game object called a weird coin. I think it says weird, yeah, I think a weird coin. It's usually I before E, except after C, but maybe that is the way. I don't know. For some reason I want to spell it EI, though. A with a face that is hard to discern. It is an item. Like that. No verbs on it. Okay, and we'll add the coin to here. Just coin. What did I do, y'all? I just need the entity ID of that game object, of course, of course. Let's see, what should the entity ID of that object be? Let's add it to our database. Entity ID 9 coin. There. That should work. Pow pow. Let's just format that a little nicer. Cool. That should be great. And it is. Okay, so now we just need to implement on digging action. So let's stage that and commit it. And add a weird coin to dig up. Okay. Sweet. Guess we can get rid of this. Alright, so let's reach into the world and get out the room we need. Okay. And the first thing we can do, of course, is just case match on the room dig. Right. Left something, left fail message. And then we have right success text, success message, and results. Well, actually, since it's identity ID, we could actually probably just put entity IDs in there as results so that you can hand in whatever kind of game objects I come up with. Anywho. No, it's probably best to know what type of the game object is and not be too generic there. Still. Fail message, we know how to do that already. We can look up get the world messages. Oh, boof, as we had before. But I said so, I have so rudely written over. No worries, no worries. We can get that back. So. World. Messages of world. Right, and here we could just return world. World messages. Sajals is equal to messages and the fail message. You can even leave the right side undefined and just test this out. As long as that's not world messages, world log messages. And just test it out and see, because as long as we don't evaluate that branch, it won't crash. So, if we try to dig right now, of course we don't have that. We don't have that verb. We pick up the shovel, and we try to dig here. All right, there is something there, so we did get crash. That's fine. But if we go somewhere else, we should see the fail message when we pick up the shovel. All right, let's walk through the front door. And let's dig here, for example, right? You can't do that here. Too bad, so sad. Okay. So let's actually implement the rest. So in this case now, we have some exciting work to do. We can pattern match on these two. Yeah. Right. We can go if they're nothing, nothing. They're both nothing. That's... You know, what do we do there? We just have a success message. We can display that. We could match it this way, like we could just say, if we have just an item, if I could type, if we have just an item, that's good too. And then we have the success case where they both exist. Ah, I completely forgot how to type. Success message. There we go. This wouldn't be too bad. Pretty explicit. Match out all the different cases. Handle them all. That's kind of fine. Yeah. Or we could just update the independent parts of the world in one branch if we have either one of these things. It's not really an error to not have them. Although this kind of one case where you have nothing is... Maybe we should do something with that. I don't know. Let's just write it a long way for now. And if we can always go back and compress the code and refactor, right? So in the nothing case, maybe we should return the world with some sort of world log message. Right? I don't know. What should we say there? Like this is where we're kind of providing a default, I guess. Or another place where we have to provide a default. The user didn't give us one, but they also didn't define, or the author, sorry, the person writing the game, presumably me for the first iteration of this, is going to have nothing really to put there. It would kind of be like a mistake on my part to define this, but put nothing. So we could like put some generic I don't know if you should do that here kind of message. Let's bring that over a little bit. All right. I don't know if you should do that here. Or like maybe nothing really happens. Maybe that might be better, a little more descriptive. You dig, but nothing seems to come of it. Right, and so in this case where we just have the success message, that again is a very similar situation to the fail message. So on and so forth, right? Like we just update that. But with a different message, the success message. And in the case where you have an item, that's kind of the more interesting case, right? Where we need to add that item to the user's inventory, the player's inventory. All right, so we have a world where the game the world the player inventory. Yeah, that's it. Player inventory. We insert. So that's m.insert. And we're going to need the item name, item ID, and the little player inventory from the world. So we'll define those up here. Player inventory of the world. The item name, we're going to have to look up that from the world as well. The item ID we do have, that's technically it. So let's pull that over into a do block. And we're going to do that lookup here, I guess. The object if get object of from the world with the item ID. And then the, well, yeah, the name's at the top level of the game object, right? Yeah, so place this with game object name of object. Seems legit. I don't know if that's buried though. Oh, sorry, not W. World. Yeah. Oops, didn't mean to full screen that, sorry. Oop. There we go. Super duper. Okay, that's the whole world there. Needs to be in a pure. That's all happy. And then we just have the last case there. Cool. So we have both, right? And this is kind of where I think my thinking is going, is that this is just going to duplicate these two blocks but put them together. Right? Actually, let me just pull that part there. Yeah. Yeah. Except that. There we go. Okay, cool. So really, all we're doing here, and this code is kind of fine, but we could probably take a little compression pass on this before we check it in, because it looks like it is kind of just do part of the case here and then do the whole case here, but they're both kind of the same. We could probably even get rid of this case here, everything if we want to. Although this is pretty okay, like it's not that bad. I don't know, what do you think, chat? Should we take a few minutes to do this? You let me know. I think it's like okay. We could probably just do it in one block though. That's what I'm thinking. Alright, let's do it. Success message. Item ID. Okay. I'm just going to comment this out. Yeah. And we'll start like this. Let's see. No, we don't want when, because when is going to return a unit. Actually, don't know. Actually, I'm drawing a blank on it right now. Yeah, because all we want to do is apply these two things to the message object to build up the next state of the world, right? That's logist of it. And if there's nothing to do, we don't do anything. Ooh, maybe what we can do here. Right. Reach in. We can add success message. The world. To the world. And apply. Line that up with add item. Item ID to the world. Now, supposing this code could be written, we would need to define those. What would their types be? Let's see GHC if I'm on the right track here. So I'm not like super sure this is going to work, but I'm just testing out a theory here. That if we have this success message with, excuse me, a maybe text and a world, we can return either something, maybe text, and a world. I think this should be fine. And then the other one we can do is add the item to it, which is a maybe item, ID, world, and either text world. That might need a definition, even if it's undefined. And this will just let me just see if the types would line up. If they do, then I'm on a pretty good track. Like, I'm pretty close. So I might have... oh, it's not item ID. What is it? It's game object ID? Entity ID? Right, entity ID item. Skadoosh. Okay, so... let's see, that's just a type mismatch on what? We expected entity ID of game object. Okay. That's simple enough. Game object. That doesn't mean it's not working yet, but come on. Ah, okay. And this is because the ultimate return type of our command handler would take a game error here, not a text. So let's fix that. Game error. Or we might not actually return a game error, but it's available. Okay, that should be green. Okay, cool. All right, so we're just reaching into the right-hand side of whatever gets returned by success message, which is going to be a right, or sorry, an either. All right, and then we're going to use the apply operator from applicative to apply this next function. Now, I don't know if this is actually the right behavior here, even though it's type correct. Yeah, because ultimately what I want to end up with is that these two things add their things to the world. This might not be right, if I think about it. Like, if this... I think these could be independently doing their own thing with world that we pass in here. which wouldn't be quite what I'm looking for. Although, what I'm hoping for anyway, what I was thinking this would do would be that this odd item function would work on the result of success message, or the other way around. No, I'm not so sure. Yeah, the other simple way we could do that is just pipe them together. Okay, well the types work up on that. Alright, so the idea is that add item returns a result. Yeah. I don't think it's gonna quite be what I want. This would have to take. This results in a game error. This is why I don't think this is going to work exactly the way I think it is. Yeah. It's because add success message has like the world here and in like kind of the return or post position. Right? It's not taking it as an input. And so like the type of apply, if we can pull up a REPL here, hopefully we can. I call it apply. That. Press error on input, blah, blah, blah. Right. Take some function, its first argument, in a container F. So this would be like our either some A to B, and then takes an FA and gives us an F of B. So it reaches inside the container and does something with it. In the case of that with, I think I have to enable type applications to use the syntax I want to use to figure this out. So if I type apply either A, B there, it's not going to let me do it because of that. And it's not going to let me do it here. Okay, that's fine. Let me do it like that, maybe? No. What? Let me do it like this. Okay, so you're just going to have to, like, mentally do the substitution in your head. Yeah, we replace the applicative F with our either. The one in the first position needs to be a function, needs to contain a function from A to B. I need to have one inside there. And then the second argument is our A to B. So there's the gist, how it grouped together, I'm thinking, but we might get a type error from this. Right. Right. So we need, this is our function world to whatever. Right, if I get rid of success message, I just put a lambda on this side. Or I could just put a hole there. This is probably just more trouble than it's worth. There's an easy way to do this, but should probably just take that. Yeah, so this needs to be a hole. This hole needs to be this type. World to something else. Needs to be an either game area of the world to something else. So, yeah. However, I'm just getting annoyed with how long this is taking because it doesn't feel like this is the right pattern for this, but what we can do is a lot simpler. Right? We can add an item to the world. And have another function, add success message with the success message. That'll be item ID to the world as well. That's fine as well. And no, that's the input type of success message is going to change here. And maybe text to either game world to either game world, game error world. Oh, yeah. Your brain is mentally substituting words here on the fly. Super fun. And so now we're actually getting the nesting. Which is probably why we don't exactly mean the dot operator here. Let's change that to a functor over that. And then we should probably get another type error. Or we don't need the pure at the beginning. Yeah, okay. That's what I meant. There we go. Back to green. Alright, so like there's ways to shorten that, I think, but I'm extremely tired today and not rocking the best right now, so we're just gonna do it the easy way, even if it's a little bit hopefully it's a little bit less code than what we started with. Alright, so with that item we just have the maybe item ID entity game object. Right, and yeah, item ID, the game world. We might not even need to be able to, we can probably even simplify this. We just change this to world. Change this to world. That should still line up. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, and then basically, if we have the item ID or not, this. Yeah, this is going to be better, but I don't think it's going to be. Because here's the thing. We can go like, there's a couple of places we can go from here. We can go if, right? If is just, right? We can just pattern match again. But in the nothing case, we just return the world. Right? We just don't change it. Right, in the nothing case here, we just pass it along, but otherwise, we do that other stuff. This block here. Uncommon. No. Yeah. All right. That's it. Same with here. We just have success message. Right, and then we have the other branch. We just pass along your world. This level. And otherwise, we take this branch. All right, we have to pass the player inventory down in order to get this code to go. Well, we can just get it locally. Let in front of it. And there we go. And then messages we can pop down. Well. Right. Well, we need messages at the top level as well. For that left branch. And oh, that doesn't technically. Oh wait, was this error? Type world with actual type. That's on what, 501 down here. Oops, yep. It's true. We just need to return the world on this one. No need for composing the either's together. Okay, and then 502. Oh, okay, yeah. Because we're not in a monad context anymore, we don't get do notation. Ah. Yeah. So we do need that either world there, actually. Okay, I'm already thinking maybe we just leave it the way it was. It's if this was like a bigger number of branches, I might be worried about it, but it's not. Not worry about it. Let's back out. Let's first move player in back up and then back out. To here. Something like this. Get to here. Yes, yes, that's right, because this would be nothing, nothing. Yeah, yeah, you know what, I like the explicit pattern matching, that seems fine. It's okay. It worked. It wasn't too nasty. Yeah, we're going to put player inventory back in the bindings here. That looks good. We'll just get rid of that. Put that there. World item. There we go. Back to green. Okay. Sometimes the answer is no. Don't noodle with it too much. And that's okay too. Okay. So that is... Let's test that out before we commit it, but it looks pretty good. Cool. So if we pick up the shovel and we use it, of course, in the other room, like we walk to the front room, and we try to dig here, we won't be able to. And then if we walk out the door, we try to dig here, though, you get a little hot digging, but you find something, and now we have a weird coin in our inventory. So that part works good. The last thing we need to do, or there's a couple more things we need to do. Right, if we drop the shovel here, we can still dig. We can still get a little hot and find something. Fortunately, our inventory is still a map, so we don't get duplicated items, but we have to change the state of the room. Right. So what I'm thinking here is that if we apply the dig in the right branch, we should change the room in the world to some sort of left branch. Now this is supposed to be like user defined somehow. Right. But you can't keep digging here once it's done. Right. The other thing we could do is we could at least make the like this nothing nothing. Once we've taken it, we can replace it with nothing nothing and just leave it the way it is. Is the other thing we could do maybe. And in that case, we would just hit that default kind of branch that we saw down there earlier in the handle dig zone of action. And I don't know if we have anything in the engine yet for being able to access and update rooms on the map or change things about them in the world yet. But it shouldn't be too hard. Basically, we have current room, exit room, get object in the room. So basically, we could just write it like a little fetcher function here to help out with it, but yeah, we would need to like mutate the room somehow, right? And flip the dig to a different state so that the user can't just keep digging, you know, and keep going and going and going. You can dig once. Maybe what would be fun, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, is if you could dig a couple of times. If this was a list, instead of just a fixed tuple. That could be fun. You could keep digging. You dig once, twice, whatever. And then actually this would get rid of the maybes. At least on the text. And then we could start interacting with the room, right? We can dig and dig and dig. If you want to dig once, twice, thrice, however long the list is, you can keep going. We could just pop these off, render them to the user, update their player inventory, and do that handling, which you already have when we do that. That's kind of cool. And then the kind of the empty state, you know, makes sense. There's nothing more to dig here. That's it. You dig, but nothing else happens. That's actually, yeah, that's better. I like that better. So let's go with that. Okay, so now, instead of that, we have a hole. An actual hole to dig. And then I think in that case, we just have the empty list case, though. Actually, sorry, that was one of the success ones where we just have the message. Sorry, this one up here, the nothing case now can go to like this. You dig, but nothing seems to come of it. And in the rest of them, the second one, we have this tuple and then some more. We don't care about the rest. We're not going to... Actually, we do care about them. Bottom of the hole that you just dug. And I think we can just bring these... Well, this is no longer a maybe, that's just a success message. Which means I think we can just bring these two together. We could... Maybe there's an item there, maybe there's not. Cool. So the next state of our room is going to be pretty easy because the dig now is just going to be bottom, the rest of the elements in the list. We'll get to that in a second. M item now. Yeah. Let's just do the whole update thing here. So, like if we're just to pattern match on item item in here, like, yeah, I don't know. I don't want to branch and use the monad fail here. Maybe we shouldn't bring them together. Maybe we should just pattern match. I'm torn. I don't know. I don't know what the best one is. Let's just bring it together. If it's messy and sloppy, it's messy and sloppy. All right. All right, we can let the item be... Oh. We can't get a default item. We just don't want to update the world. We don't want to bother updating the world if we don't have to. Maybe add a item. M item to the world. And we can let that kind of update the state of the world that way. The success message, we know we're going to add that because we have it. I don't even know if we need a do block here, to be honest. Actually, we do, yes, because we have you. We can get rid of this because that'll be in the body of that function contained there. So all right, we're gonna have world prime prime. This will be update room dig with bottom in the world. We need the room ID in order to do that. But we have the room in scope, so we could just have like a update room in the world, where we pass it the next room into world prime. Okay, so what's room prime? That's going to be room where the room dig is equal to bottom. So we've used that parameter, and that's okay. And we supposedly have some function update room that will take our room, and we need the room ID. Yeah, I think we will need the room ID. If we can get that. Or we can do update current room. Yeah. Cool. And then, once we have world prime prime, we've added the room back to the world, we've added the thing, then we can go and just pure doohickey. World prime prime with the message. I think I got that in my buffer somewhere. The success message, yeah. Here, prime prime, yeah. Near. Okay, it's not going to work yet. We're not quite out of the weeds, of course. Few things to define. So change that to rest. I think we might have been colliding there. Oh, no. We're getting, what are we getting? Yes, we are getting some funkiness. Okay, why is this funky? because we are still kind of operating in the either monad case here. So we're going to need to add our, not going to contain maybe add item this way. Room prime's going to be fine, I think. Let's just, we're gonna have to, yeah, we're gonna have to case match on an item. I'm sorry, an item. Okay. And everything else as well that we did before. Which is, yeah, kind of uggo, but... Got to be world prime here. Prime there. Their inventory. World rooms. No, that should be updated by update current room, so that should be fine. We just have to do the success message. World log messages. Blah. It's gross. Blah, 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 blah. I did mean that, GHC, yes. Thank you for the nice, helpful suggestion. Right, okay. I think we should be back to green, or maybe not. That could just be world. And then we just have to implement update current room. Because that's not going to work until it does. Get it. This one on 500. Same diff. Now we should get the update current room. Doesn't exist. Yeah. Okay. Ooh. Right. Yeah, so we're going to reach into the room dig of the room. And we're just going to, no matter what it is, unilaterally replace it with that. Yeah. This is why I don't like this code, because you kind of have to update it in two places, and to be consistent, it's tricky. But let's get it working first. I'm veering off the chosen path by farting around with this stuff a little bit. And you don't like this because it's a parse error on rest. That's because room dig should be defined here. We're going to tolerate a little bit of messiness for now. Get back on track here. Okay, update current room. That's good. Yes, that's what we want. We want to see that type error. This type error. Don't like that. Why do I have this? Oh, sorry, that's a different area of the engine. That's a different type error altogether. Right. Yeah. That's our, we can get, that's super easy to fix. We'll just go get that one. $169. Yeah, we changed the definitions here, so we don't need just here. Okay, update current room, update current room. Yeah, we'll fix the other one. Okay. That should be a list of those. Yes, yes. Do. That's better. Cow. Well, now, update current room. Yeah, okay. Those are the type error I want. Update current room. So, we need to implement how we do it for time. We got time. We got time, chat. We got time. We're good. So, let's implement update current room. This is where we want to mutate the current room. So, we've like dug a hole in the floor. It should change, right? It should change somehow. And let's go to our kind of like section in the engine here for those kinds of functions. Current room, exit current room, get object in current room, object in inventory object, get objects, that kind of thing. So let's do it right here. Seems good enough. Update current room. It's a world, a room to replace with the current room. This could do some funky magic, of course, with the state of the game. And then this gets entity, so either game error or world. Okay, so do I have a way of getting the current room ID? The current room fetches into the map. But the current player room should be the room ID, I think, the entity ID room. Yeah. Okay, so in order to do that, we can do a let's get the room map out of the world. Of W, and doesn't even need to be a dude block. I don't think this could be a pure one. In that, we return W, where world rooms is equal to m dot alter where's it update? Thanks, update. Yeah. Function A to maybe K. K. Okay, yeah. So our key is going to be the player room of the world. And the map, of course, is going to be our room map. So this function here is going to get the current value of that room and return maybe room. We're just going to const just the room we're given to update. Okay. So it doesn't look like is there any problems with that? No, that's all down in the other function. Just some naming mishaps. So that looks pretty fine. Let's just move that over a little bit. There. I'm not like a hard 80 column person, but I grew up with it. I don't mind stuff going a little bit over it. You know, I can tolerate a little bit. Sometimes I like to try and keep it over to the left as much as possible because, like, I just find it exhausting. And when I'm splitting windows in kind of a restricted area or restricted screen size, it gets really annoying to read past 80. Sometimes it makes sense, but sometimes it's just... Anyway, let's fix some of these silly little name errors. And that should be good. We should be able to test again. So 502 says... okay, not quite the right line number, but thanks for trying. In here, though, update current room, room prime. What's up with that? Can't match expected type room with actual type. Or actual, oh, expected type. I flipped the arguments around. So let's fix that. That should be room world. I was kind of going off of the other convention here of putting world first. I should probably stick with that. So let's just flip that over down here. And here. Okay, we got one on 505. It doesn't like this one because world prime isn't cool, maybe? I'm not quite sure I understand what that one's all about here. What's going on? Oh, okay, yeah, that's right. This is returning an either. Which means we probably have the same issue here. Which is why I'm not super loving this code right now. But that should make it work. Sweet. Let's try it out. Alright, so we pick up the shovel. And if we dig here, we should see the message once. I get a weird coin. We look, the message is no longer there. We dig again, but we see you dig, but nothing seems to come up of it. Or, you dig, but nothing seems to come of it. So we see the message we expect. That's good. If we drop the shovel, though, the last thing we need to fix before we call this dunzos is that when we drop the shovel, we should remove the dig verb. Okay, we can make this slightly better, I think, maybe, at least for a moment here. In this case, literally the same. Yeah, so the different parts are here. Okay, that'll be a little better at least. Minor improvement. Okay, so actually let's checkpoint that and commit. It's quite a bit of stuff. Oh, not that bad. Yeah, so we added the ability to keep digging. Super. Okay, now we need to be able to drop the verb when we go to drop. So we gotta go to handle drop. And now when the item is dropped, we gotta update the player verb map. Here's what that has to change. Player verbs has to be something. Now we have unions. Differences. The difference of two maps. Return the elements of the first map not existing in the second. All right, so return the elements in the first map that don't exist in the second. Yeah, so the second one should be the verb map we get from the item. Yeah, and then this one should be the current verb map. And so that would, since this, yeah, the map on the right here will be our items map. It won't have like walk and look and all that. It'll just have dig in the case of the shovel. So it'll have all of the elements except for dig. We use difference. And there's just a shorthand operator version of that, so cool. So we know how to update that. We have player verbs. Let's add it up here. The world. And we have the item verbs we need to get. So we actually have to get the object out of the database. Handle drop gets the object name. We get the object ID by looking at the player inventory. And since we're dropping an item in our inventory, we can use the get object in inventory function. That's right. And that takes a world. It takes a text. I guess the game name. Hmm. Okay, well, we need it anyway. Interesting choice past me. We have the object name, so let's just use that. And that should get the object. And now we can do our m.difference, which we can do with the world, or the world verbs, player verbs, right? We already pulled that out, and the objects verbs. Now that only happens right now, at least in case save items, because we haven't added that yet. So we still need to do a little bit more work on the object to get that. So the object verbs is if the object is an item, then let's case match on item object. So if we have nothing, right, we can just return the empty map, m.singleton. It's like a no-op. But if we do have the verbs, we'll call it V's here for short. That's cool. I'll just return the V's. Which we could replace this case match with a handy little function. Since this is kind of like silly here, right? From maybe m.singleton is our default value. Otherwise, we're going to get the thing from the object item object function. We still have to reach into that to get the item map, as I recall. So we're not quite done with this, but almost there. So we get the object, the item object. Now, because that's a maybe thing, we can fmap over that to reach into the container, into the thing we're looking at. That should be the item. We get the item verbs out of it. And item verbs, and turn that into a map. Not from list. All right, then we got our hole here, and we put object verbs in there. That's a bit of a mouthful, but I think we got it. Close. That's just not in scope. From maybe comes from data.maybe. And object verbs. You don't think that's a map. Too few arguments. we missed a parameter to something. Where did we miss it? Okay, first of all, entity ID game object. We expected the type object. That should have tipped me off. Maybe I am bad at naming things. I take it back. Okay. We expected to type object there, but we actually have an entity ID game object, because this function get object in inventory gets the object ID, not the actual object. Good to know. We're also getting object ID, it looks like here. So this isn't the right thing. Maybe I have a helper function for this already. But we can look it up in using m.lookup on the world's database or map of objects. Flip those around though. World objects. Okay, getting some mismatches here. This isn't quite right. This isn't right, this isn't right. And that's because I'm forgetting maybe what these things are. Entity ID of game object, yeah. And when we look in the player inventory, the value should be getting back an entity ID of game object. And the world objects map to game object. So that's good news. That's what I thought it was. What's going on? Okay. Not sure. Let's I'm gonna back out of that hunk. Try that again. Okay. All right, so the world rooms do adjust. Okay. We handle a drop. We want to, we got to change the player verbs. Right. Player verbs. Boom. Underscore. Right. We need the difference of the player verbs. Of the world. All the verbs unite. Let's go. Get you out. Yeah, this object ID is super happy fun times. Right. So it's a map of text of entity to entity ID of game objects. It should be an object ID, yeah. And the object we're looking for then should be in there. Game error. Where are you? Do. Not a room, not an inventory. That would be a good one. That's, yeah. It would be the same thing. Link. m.lookup is what I want to look up into object ID. Into the world inventory. Objects. Comme ça. That should just be a hole there. Yeah. Okay, so we didn't mess that up too much. So that should be now the object. And the object, we need to get the inventory of verbs as we can build the map. This is where we kind of started bumbling things up a little bit. Object verbs. Okay, so let's go a little slower. We need to look into the item object, because we only really have verbs on items right now. There. So we should now have two holes. Let's focus on one of them. Not that one. This one. A little bit of syntax problems there. Should be like that. Okay. All right, so we have a maybe item now in on the left side of our arrow, and we need to get to a C, whatever C is. We know this is going to be eventually a map of a verb map and a verbalius map of some sort. So we maybe have an item, but we know what we can do with maybe. We can reach inside the maybe with fmap. And what are we going to find there? We're going to find a function that takes an item and does something with it. Right. We're going to go into the item verbs, and that's going to be a list, and we're going to do map m dot from list. That should fill in that thing. We should only have one hole left. Player verbs. That's our verb alias map. We have this problem here. Okay, it might be our definition of item object is demanding an object and not a game object. So let's look at that. I think that's probably what was happening. That's right, it is. So this is fixable. Double drop. All we have to do is pop, I think after, no, before. Game object. There we go. Okay. That's a little ugly looking. Kind of a long composition. You know, it sounds like we need to make that a little better, because I think we do that in a couple of places. We should probably put game object, the field accessor there in the definition of item object, it sounds like. But we'll do that in a cleanup step. Let's get to this part though, because now we have all of the things in play that we need in scope. We have the player verbs. We have the difference function. And we have the object verbs. And this one is still not quite right because it's still wrapped in maybe. Which we can get rid of by just giving player verbs as the default. Of player verbs. What's the difference? Oh no, I'm sorry, it's object verbs is the maybe. Sorry, that was the wrong place to put that. From maybe should be up here. Right, the inference would even put that, I think, probably figure that out. Should be like player verbs or some sort of default. Chem.empty. No, m.empty is a good one. Okay, that should go green now, I think. Or, yeah, we've got all the holes. So, then, boom, let's test it out. Pick up the shovel. All right, we can dig. Drop shovel. We no longer dig. Sick. Okay. We did it. Let's clean up the code a little bit. So I'm just going to check it in the way it is right now before we do our refactor. Drop verbs when you drop the item. Okay, and then yeah, I want to move. I do want to move this up into the definition of item object. So let's get back to green as quick as we can. might even game object, don't care about the name description. Maybe we'll just get it that way. And that code's gonna be a little upset, but that's only one error, so that's good. Let's jump over to that. Good old 386. What a classic architecture. Yeah, so we don't need this in front of here anymore. I can shorten that down a little bit. Okay, that's pretty nice. But we're also still kind of doing the same pattern too, where we fmap the item verb stuff. But I think we have like kind of two different cases where we're fmapping a little bit. All right, one where we're turning it into the list right away. One where we're constructing the list down here. We could probably make them similar and then yeah, have like kind of a function for that. I think I like that. So let's go to handle drop where we have the other case. This is kind of a minor one. Yeah, where we got this kind of function here. Remember that. We're going to jump to item object. And we'll have another one. Item object verb map, verb alias map. And that's going to be a maybe of a map, verb to verb. Bit of a mouthful. But it lets us do it like this. Line those up. Okay, go to 81. Object distance scope. Yeah, we can do that. 0.3. Wait, what? Oh, right. That won't exactly entirely work right. We have to do this pattern matching, of course. And then how's that? Not quite. Not quite. What are we missing here? Not quite the type of that function I thought it was. Okay. Yes. Okay, this almost works. We don't want item object necessarily there now. We just want the item verbs. of the item. Right? In which case, we don't need this map anymore. We don't even need this from maybe anymore. We actually need the m dot from list. That's why. I didn't mean that. And in the nothing case, it's otherwise for now at least. Okay. And this will probably be your. Hold on, I'm not with a awesome with a dot. There we go. That should do it. Yes, green again. I like it. Okay, so now we should be able to, yeah, get rid of that. So let's jump back over there. All this in that mess. Now we should be able to get item, object, verb, alias, map of the object. And that's a maybe again. Doesn't need to be a maybe. Yes, it does. Yeah, we need one for the other case. But that's still fine. It shortens it up a lot. M dot empty. Yeah, m dot empty. Yeah. That should be green. Go green. Yes. Okay, we have one more place where we looked up those verbs. And we kind of did a bunch of F mapping and item objecting and stuff that we can replace with simply item object verb alias map. Now that wants it to be, we don't need the m dot from list on that anymore. It's just item verbs. That should go green. Yeah. Okay. That's a little better. Nice. Okay. Pretty good. Handle drop. Looking good. Handle dig. It's okay. Not too bad. Maybe there's a way to clean that up, but I'm not going to mess with it tonight because we're out of time. So let's clean up our commits, get this pushed up. Okay, we'll just rebase this whole thing. Squash it up. No, paste. I'm gonna pick this one, change, oh wait, I know why I can't do that. I reword it, and squash the rest, yes. Squash you. Good. Take that off. When the player drops the item, remove the verbs. Added a dig verb. Actually, make that a list. We added a couple of things. A dig verb handler and runes can now have multiple items to dig. Cool. Get rid of those. There we go. Push that up. Bam. Knock it off our to-do list. Done. Item verbs. So now we can have more verbs, of course, but now we can define items that have one or more verbs attached to them. So you can pick them up and drop them and all that stuff. And that's great. Cool. So let's just try that out one more time, and then we'll call it. Yeah, so there you go. Now we can pick up, well, we have our first puzzle piece, right? We can lock doors by requiring certain items in your inventory. In this case, our magic shovel item is getting all the love right now. Pick up the shovel. We can walk through the front door. And walk back out. We're good. We can also dig with the shovel here to get a weird coin out of the yard. Right. A weird coin and a shovel. Super duper. We can walk back into the front door again. We try digging in here though. We can't, so we can't do that here. And of course, if we drop the shovel, we try digging. We can't dig anymore. We can still walk to the door. Of course, we can still pick up the purse and do all the other things we expect to do. So we have a purse and a weird coin. Cool. We're getting there. It's getting some more mechanics in there. Looking pretty good. Once we got a few more mechanics, we'll be able to work on some authoring tools, design a game. Maybe add a couple more cool features. And who knows, you know, where we can go from there. But thanks for joining me tonight. If you don't follow me already, you can follow me here on Twitch. YouTube friends, you know what to do. And also, you know, give me a follow on the tweets or in the Discord as well. You can look up there. There's a link to our Discord server where you can find other cool and awesome declarative and functional programming people streaming and doing awesome stuff. So thanks again. May your types always be free. May your monads always check. I got the other way. May your monads always be free. May your types always check. And happy hacking out there.